Welcome. Really, really appreciate that you actually took this time and made the effort to have this conversation with me. So truly humbled by that. Thank you so much.
It's a great honor, privilege, and pleasure to be with you and speak on this subject. So thank you for having me over.
Thank you. Thank you. And for the maybe true people that don't know you, I'm sure everybody knows who you are and has listened to you and learned a lot from you. But for the true that actually don't know about you, I just wanted to share a little thing. You were actually an engineer student,
Yeah.
uh, and you actually were a bit of a rebel. You know, when I was listening to your story, spirituality comes from that space, actually. A lot of people think that it's such a, everybody's going to be open to it. Everybody's going to, clap hands and allow their son or daughter to take this spiritual path. But I feel like all spiritual leaders have a tendency to be a rebel, and go
Yeah, I
against
think
the
so.
grain and truly, face a lot of challenges. This is very good because I wanted people to know that, yes, everybody's appreciating you now, everybody's clapping for you now, but this is because they're seeing you towards this part of your journey. But they
Yes.
didn't actually see you going through this, going through the desire to become this person when you had to challenge the ones you loved, when you had to go against the society, when you had to go against, certain cultural expectations. And I wanted people to realize that even you had to go through that process, and it involves parenting, it involves family. So how
Yes.
important do you think parenting is, especially in our culture in India? Because I
Hmm.
have noticed a huge difference in parenting coming
Hmm.
from the Australian, life that I've lived. I was born in India, went to Australia,
Hmm.
grew up there, come back to India. Now I've seen massive difference in parenting styles,
Hmm.
and how a family is sort of, grown and nurtured in two different places. And I've
Correct.
literally taken the bits, the positives, the good bits from here and good bits from there, and sort of created my
Yes.
own. Now, how much do you think parenting is important, especially in our culture in India?
So a lot of times when people grow up with the wrong systems in them, there's a lot of hard work that needs to be done to uncondition them. So I very strongly feel that, in this country, globally, and since you're asking particularly in this country, we definitely need to put parenting in place, the art of parenting in place. And culturally, yes, the art of parenting is different in different places. The principles are the same, but the way they are applied is based on the cultural setting. Definitely need to work on it, create awareness, educate and train people in order to bring that back in alignment with what the principles of parenting are. But yes, if we have to invest in the future, we have to invest in our children. The
Yes,
greatest investment is children because they are the ones who are going to lead the future, right? So I do feel it is very crucial and important, that impact. Yeah, and you said your own experience, right? How you were
absolutely.
impacted.
What I want to talk to you about, and you would be a great person to actually discuss with, is that people actually mistake our old teachings or
Hmm.
our old wisdom.
Hmm.
And I find that a lot of the times when I talk about parenting, and I'm coming from a place where I completely believe in authentic parenting, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so when I'm coming from that place, a lot of people will come at me by saying, no, but the elders are right. You should listen to what the elders have to say. You
Hmm.
shouldn't. And it's like me trying to explain to them that, age is not actually, something that proves that you're wiser than a 5-year-old. I've learned a
Yeah,
lot from my son who's 5,
sure.
and there's things I can challenge in an elder person, but it's like here to break through that boundary so that we can be open, so that
Correct.
someone is, how do we open up that elder generation to
Hmm.
honestly just be open to understanding that there are different ways, that we should all be learning in life. We should all be focusing on raising empowered families. We shouldn't
Hmm.
have hierarchy in the house. We should
Hmm.
have leaderships. you know,
Correct.
and
Correct.
some people are good at leading in this, you know, let them take the charge.
Absolutely.
And some people are good at leading in that thing, let them take the charge.
Correct.
I feel threatened, you know, just because someone maybe is bringing home the money, you know, that doesn't make a leader, because someone else
Yes.
is also raising the kids, you know.
Correct.
So leadership should be a joint thing. So how do you implement that sort of thinking in regards to people who think they have misunderstood our old texts? And I think they think that, no, you should just listen to what you're told.
Yes.
You should just
Yes.
listen to what the grown-ups are saying. How do you sort of overcome that aspect?
Correct. So, like we were talking about yesterday, in our conversation,
Yes.
that in our epics and in our ancient texts, there has always been the liberty to speak up. Correct.
Yes.
Now, the question is, should we be challenging an elder person?
Mm.
Isn't it?
Yes.
My question is, should we be challenging someone who's not doing it right? Rather, take the elder or the younger out.
Yes.
It's not about elder, younger, or equals. It's
Absolutely.
about should we be challenging something that's not right? Should
Yes.
we be challenging something that's not healthy for the ecosystem?
Yes.
Should we be challenging something that is having a wrong impact on the family or the world at large? Should we be challenging something that is not in for the well-being of the person whom we are challenging?
Absolutely.
And in every question that I've asked, the answer most thoughtful people will give is yes, we should.
Yes.
Correct. Now, once the question is, should we be challenging a person who is ABC? Should we be challenging a person who's not doing it right, ABC, all of these things? Then replace that question with, should we be challenging an elder who is not doing it right? Should
Yeah.
we be challenging an elder who's not having that impact? Should we be challenging an elder who's not concerned about his well-being and doing things in a rigid, non-flexible way? You
Yes.
know, and the answer would be yes. It's not a question of elder, younger, or equal. We will definitely do it with great sensitivity. We
Mm.
will definitely do it with great respect, but it must be done regardless of who the person is. Wrong is wrong if everybody is doing it. Right is right, even if nobody is doing it.
Yeah.
Right? You
Correct.
can't change right and wrong just because someone's doing or someone's not doing, correct? So in which case, we have, like we were talking about yesterday, Shri Krishna challenging Bhishma, making Arjun challenging Bhishma,
Yes.
making Arjun challenging Drona, making Arjun challenging Kripacharya in the Mahabharata, correct?
Yes.
Bhishma, should he have kept quiet? No. Should it be challenged? Yes.
Yes.
Did Krishna have Arjun challenge? Yes. Correct. So we have in our own ancient histories, if somebody in this country says that, hey, look, our culture doesn't allow us to do that. Look at this.
Yes.
Look
Yes.
at this, right?
Mm.
You have in the Ramayana, we are talking about, a culture of Indians would usually talk about women as someone who are meant to be subservient,
Yeah.
women who are someone who are meant to be docile, women who are not meant to raise their voice, those pativrata naris, you know. Women empowerment, you don't need to empower a woman. A woman is already empowered.
Agreed.
That term is a misnomer in
Yeah.
one sense. Well, you know what we're doing is we by saying women empowerment, we are telling, okay, I give you the right to
Right.
empower me.
Yes.
Who
Yes.
who under the sun are you to empower me?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I already have the spirit in me. That empowerment is that. The grace of the Almighty also runs in me as much as it runs in a man. You
Yeah.
know, you see what I mean? So in the Ramayana, you find all those ladies who are listening to us here. If your husbands are in any way, shape, or form abusive in whatever emotional, physical, whatever way, our culture is not a culture where you're meant to keep quiet and just tolerate abuse. That is the stupidest, idiotic thing that spiritual leaders can ever teach. That tolerate and forgive.
Uh,
Tolerance and forgiveness is important, but it has an asterisk which says conditions apply. You know, you know what I mean? So here we have Sita. When Ram says, "I'm not going to take you along with me to the forest," Sita gives it back, not out of arrogance, not out of haughtiness, not out of being holier than thou, but out of being assertive.
Yeah.
One is to be assertive, not arrogant,
And
you know,
knowing who she is, knowing.
knowing who she is. Absolutely, absolutely. And she says, well, I'm sorry to say, but I'm not sure if you're telling me that there are beasts in the forest, animals in the forest. She said, where else are they meant to live? You know? And she said, I think my father probably married me to not a man. Doesn't look like he's a man here. These are the words spoken by Sita. You know, she speaks to her mother-in-law Kausalya in a very assertive, respectful way.
Yes.
Correct. So here is this principle in our own culture, because you brought up about India and its setting, you
Yes.
know, that from our epics, from our histories, here we have these principles that we can be assertive, not arrogant, you
Yes.
know, we can be respectful, yet communicate our points with sensitivity. And in terms of the other generation, on the other side, how do they, we can say, okay, I'll learn how to be assertive. I'll learn how to say, okay, challenge my elders and say, okay, this is something that we could have done better, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But how would they open themselves up to this? Isn't it? Which is why I think communication is a very important principle. We have to sit down on the table and talk. If we do not talk, if we do not discuss, the same old rigid patterns repeat themselves. Correct? And when we communicate, we have to communicate in a way that we solicit a yes. Correct? So which basically means how do we look at a win-win?
Mm.
how
Absolutely.
do we how do we look at a win-win? How do we say that okay, your interests are taken care of and our interests are taken care of? In fact, it's not your or mine, it's our interests
Ours.
are taken care of as a
Yes.
family, you know. So when we talk to elders, or for that matter to anybody, three things need to be remembered at all times in our communication, you know. Number one is, do we have the right motive? And the right motive is not to be holier than thou.
Yes.
The right motive is not to be, aggressive, assertive, but not aggressive. The right motive is to benefit the larger family and not just, okay, I believe, so I want it done.
Yes.
It's not I
Yes.
believe, it's we should believe, correct?
Yes.
So we should have the right motive. Number two, we should know the right way to do it. Often it's not what is said, but how it is said that makes a lot of difference. And especially with elders, how it is said is so very important, simply because they have age in their favor. They have a little more experience, quote unquote, from the world that they've lived in their favor. And obviously, that kind of a superiority demands respect. So how do we present it is very crucial. That will open their minds up rather than closing them up. And number three is it the right timing? When do we speak it? You
Wow.
know, when do we speak it? If there's something that's going wrong in the house and suddenly we bring it up saying, look, this is how you've done it this way. Look what the outcome is. What if we just gave it 2 weeks to pass and then sat down and communicated and said, hey, wait a minute. 2 weeks back this happened. I'm not. How could we have done different? How could we have done it differently to
Mm.
avoid that? You know. So taking inputs from them, sharing our inputs. It's a dialogue. Sanskrit is called samvad. You know, and in that dialogue, I think there is a possibility to open hearts, open minds, and then of course when we serve them and we make emotional investments in relationships with them, that side also opens their hearts up. You know. So I think these are a couple of points I would say, we should have the courage to challenge,
This
and
is,
they should also have the openness to be
yeah,
challenged.
I loved what you said because I am all about being very honoring who I am, honoring everybody for who they are. So
Yes,
I always live by that. I don't expect other people to change so that I feel better, and
yes,
that same way I honor who I am and have that relationship, authentically with people. But
correct.
what I learned from this moment is to actually choose the timing,
Yes,
like choosing, being patient to when to
correct.
say it, how to say it. That
Yes,
has really, really touched with me because I'm like,
sure.
okay, that opens me up, that opens up to what I want to actually do. It
Yes,
will help me even more with what I want to do with parenting.